next Animal Crossing game is in trouble. Hello Fluffies! I'm Joëlle from Fluff'isle and we are going to talk together about what really can Nintendo offer to fight against free-to-play good games from China. Well, asking your audience to buy a whole new system over $500, then buy a new game and only update your game for 2 years and after that nothing, that won't work in the current gaming ecosystem. And when your competition is gorgeous free-to-play games that keep expanding all the time every couple of months, how can you really stay afloat? I hope that you have time and that you are doing some chores or something and that you're ready to go in this video essay with me because it's going to be long. As of filming this, there's still zero news from Nintendo about a potential future Animal Crossing, just so you know. Just as a couple of days ago I filmed a video saying we have no news from Animal Crossing, now we have heard about the 3.0 update coming in January 2026. I personally think that this update is lazy and boring, but we are going to talk about it in more details in this video that I will link up there, and in the meantime we'll go back to analyzing why in any case, even with this 3.0 update, Animal Crossing is in trouble. Animal Crossing New Horizons was a great game, but also the timing was right. We'll look at the current cozy game market and the new games that have been recently announced. We'll talk about how we will dilute the player base, the plan for China to actually take over the cozy gaming genre, and should we be worried about Chinese propaganda in our games? Then we'll talk about the business model war and the copycats. Let's face it, Animal Crossing New Horizons was an amazing game, and that was also my first Animal Crossing game if you don't count Pocket Camp, that is a mobile game. I was also one of the people who bought a Switch just for Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing sold 84 millions worldwide with the whole franchise and 48 millions of Animal Crossing New Horizons. 13.41 million units sold in the first 6 weeks, and it became the Switch fastest selling game title ever. And in March 2020 it doubled the Switch sales compared to the year before, and it is also ranked 14th in the best selling game of all times. This is interesting because when I say to people that I actually do cozy gaming on YouTube, none of them have heard about Hello Kitty Island Adventure, but I've heard about Animal Crossing. Even though I have like 2 videos about Animal Crossing, I'll always mention this game because people, even if they don't play cozy games, they've heard of Animal Crossing. Of course, the coronavirus pandemic really helped the sales of this game because the timing was right and because a lot of people were forced to stay at home in March 2020. Of course, when the world outside is on fire, you want to escape in a virtual world where everything is cute and cozy, and that makes total sense. But let's say that relying on a future pandemic to sell your future game is not the best business model. So either they're already working on it or they're not, but I can't imagine that they would not try to bank on a sequel to the game that was really a game changer for a lot of people 5 years ago. And considering it's the 3rd best-selling Nintendo game of all times, behind Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Wii Sports, it would be foolish not to start working on the next one, especially since they have not done any new content since November 2021, so they should have had time. The team that worked on Animal Crossing New Horizons is Nintendo EPD Group number 5 and also works on Splatoon, and they released Splatoon 3 in 2023, a DLC for it in 2024, and are aiming to release Splatoon Raiders in 2026. However, Splatoon usually takes 2 to 3 years to develop, but there was an 8-year gap in the last 2 Animal Crossing. So are we even close to getting a new one? Maybe not before 2027 or 2028. We're still within the very normal wait between Animal Crossings, but are they looking at the current market and changing their copy and rethinking their whole business model? Because now players have so many new options, a lot of them being free to play and gorgeous ambitious and offer tons of things that Animal Crossing does not even offer, like quests and puzzle rooms, constant updates and expansions, different biomes. So in the past 5 years, tons of studios have decided to jump on the cozy game bandwagon and try to do the things that Animal Crossing did well, like the life simulation game and farming and fishing and bug catching and everything, and also expand on all the things that Animal Crossing did not do well and offer something very exciting now. So let's review the cozy gaming market nowadays. Even though when you're comparing, there's not that many games that actually is in the same genre of Animal Crossing, really like a sandbox game where you can decorate outside, terraform, and really build your own designed world that everybody's will be different. I don't see that many games who do that. But even though there's been hundreds of thousands of games published since 2020, actually not that many managed to sell millions of copies like actually Animal Crossing does, because it's mostly indie studios with limited budgets and limited reach. So unfortunately, it will be very hard for them to make a big mark on the cozy gaming genre. For example, one of the very first games that was really compared to Animal Crossing was Hello Kitty Island Adventure that came out 2 years ago on Apple Arcade. When it came out, it was not the sandbox game like Animal Crossing that people said it would be, but more like everything else that was missing in Animal Crossing, like open world, live service, questing, puzzle rooms and everything. It was mostly compared to Animal Crossing because of the looks by people outside of the cozy gaming genre, I would say, but if you look closer at the mechanics, it's really more similar to Disney Dreamlight Valley or Zelda than actually Animal Crossing. And it also has a big IP like Animal Crossing has become now, because it's all the characters from Sanrio. They have over 450 characters that they could put in the game, so it's perfect for keeping updates all the time. And even though it's my favorite game ever, you can see my other, not kidding, 1000 plus videos on this channel about Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It doesn't have decorating outside or terraforming. That's something that makes it really, really fun in Animal Crossing to really design your own island. So it's really not the exact genre, so I don't think it's actually a real competitor. And also the peak of players was reached in early 2025 when it came out on all other platforms, and so I don't think that it will end up making a big impression and competition against Animal Crossing in the years to come. In terms of sales for cozy gaming, I think there's only Stardew Valley that can almost compare to Animal Crossing with this 41 million sales in over 9 years. Other than that, we'll have Disney Dreamlight Valley, Coral Island, My Time at Sandrock, Cozy Grove, Hello Kitty Island Adventure. All of these were selling above millions, but it's not really public and very hard to check. From all of these, only Disney Dreamlight Valley and Hello Kitty Island Adventure offer regular seasonal updates as a live service game. If you compare the teams, Disney Dreamlight Valley is about 70 to 100 people. Hello Kitty Island Adventure, 40 to 60 people. Both would be considered mid-tier AA studios. Animal Crossing was actually made with 100 to 200 people, and it's actually closer to these studios that we just talked about compared to the big Chinese studios that are going to enter the arena now. For example, the studio that makes Genshin Impact has over 700 developers on this game, and for Infinity Nikki over 1000 developers. So those numbers are crazy, and that shows that China is really going to push forward making something incredible that Japanese and Western studios maybe are not ready to actually spend the money on and are not able to. I just looked at SteamDB and Twitch to have an idea of how many people are still playing the games and streaming the games. Obviously SteamDB is only for Steam, so we have no idea of knowing all the other platforms or even numbers of play for Animal Crossing because it's not on Steam. So for Stardew Valley, we have on a Sunday 120 623 people playing at the moment and 681 watching on Twitch. For Hello Kitty Island Adventure, we have 1,300 people playing on Steam and only 5 watching on Twitch. It really depends on who's streaming it, I guess. And for Disney Dreamlight Valley, 4.7k playing on Steam and 600 watching on Twitch. For Coral Island, 4.6 playing on Steam and 87 watching on Twitch. My Time at Sandrock, 2k playing on Steam and 35 watching on Twitch. Animal Crossing, we have no idea of knowing how many people are actually playing now because it's on Switch, but on Twitch there's 1.1 thousand people watching, knowing that there's also all those crappy treasure islands that is not real content, skewing the results. With these numbers, we can see that maybe only Stardew Valley can rival Animal Crossing, and all the other indie ones or mid-tier ones are not really going to be big competitors to Animal Crossing. Now let's look at the games that have been announced recently, and not that recently, but not here yet. Obviously, none of the games that I mentioned before or now are going to be an exhaustive list, because obviously there's so many games coming all the time, and if I missed one that is important, of course let me know, but we cannot talk about all games. Here are the games that were announced lately that I feel, in my opinion, might be more targeted towards competition for Animal Crossing, and most of them don't even have a set release date. There is Pokopia from Japan, from the Pokemon Company and Nintendo, and it says to release in 2026. It will be exclusively for the Switch 2 and paid. Then we have Palform from Japan, from Pokken Pair. We do not have a date. It is supposed to be for PC, Xbox on the Game Pass, and also paid. Then we have Petit Planet. It is from China, from Hoyoverse. We do not know when it will be out, and it is for PC, PS5, Xbox, and Series, and Switch Mobile, and it will be free to play. Then we have Flowtopia from China, released by NetEase, for PC, PS5, Xbox Series, Switch, and mobile. It was supposed to be released in 2025, but is rumored to be delayed. It is free to play, and about a year ago they said that they got 1 million pre-reservation for the game, but we have no news since. Then we have Animulanuk from China, from Lilylandia Games, published by Tencent. We do not have a release date. It is for PC, PlayStation 5, Switch 2. It will be free to play, and very recently they said they already have 1.6 million pre-registrations. Then we also have Hertopia, that apparently is already out in China, but they will have a global version in 2026. It is for PC and mobile and is free to play. And then we have Star Sand Island from China, and it did a Kickstarter. It will be for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series, and is set to be released in February 2026. Now let's look at all of them a little bit more in detail. Despite being a big IP, Pokopia, the Pokemon farming game, doesn't seem to bring anything interesting to the genre and looks very Switch-like for a Switch 2 game. Really, like, the graphics are... Palform actually might be a big competition for Pokopia, but I don't think that any of them can rival Animal Crossing. They're too tied to the monster collecting genre and not cute enough for the people who really like the decoration and customization that Animal Crossing has. Star Sand Island isn't the same kind of gameplay as Animal Crossing. It's more on story. It's more a kind of game like Coral Island or Stardew Valley. Hertopia seems to be doing well in China, but it does not seem like a big competitor for Animal Crossing either. And to be honest, I really do think that the characters are not pretty. Then we're left with Flowtopia, Animulanuk, and Petit Planet. They are published by none other than the 3 biggest gaming companies in China: MiHoYo, Hoyoverse, Tencent, and NetEase. And the 3 of them are in the top 10 biggest gaming companies worldwide, with Sony, EA, Epic, and the likes. But actually, I would think that Petit Planet, Flowtopia, and Animulanuk are actually in competition in between themselves, because they're all from China, they're all going for global release, and they all will be free to play. And I don't think that they think that Animal Crossing is a big threat for them. I'm not sure that the developers of Animal Crossing see those 3 games as a threat, but I actually hope that they do, because this will boost the kind of service and things that Animal Crossing can put in the next game to match this new standard that will be put in place by those very big Chinese companies on the cozy gaming genre. So is China going to take over the cozy gaming market? So if we've established that the small indie and medium tier games are not going to be a big threat for Animal Crossing, what if the big Chinese conglomerate games are going to be what is actually to be feared? Before I mentioned Infinity Nikki, which is not at all a direct competitor for Animal Crossing because this genre is very different, but I think it's very interesting to look at it because it's free to play, it's now multiplayer, it's a live service with tons of updates, and it's one of the first big and free to play model for cozy gamers that is actually seriously done and just a dress up game. It's a gorgeous and amazing game, and despite having managed to alienate the player base with questionable strategic choices earlier this year, the game peaked early with over 20 million players and 26 million in monthly revenue, and then it stabilized around 8 to 12 million monthly players and 8 to 12 million dollars in revenue. If you look at this number, you cannot even see when actually people started to become angry, but China is definitely the biggest market for this game. So Infinity Nikki is actually kind of a good benchmark that we can imagine the kind of people who played Infinity Nikki might be the same kind of people who will play Animal Crossing and not necessarily the other games from those new studios, so that's why I mentioned Infinity Nikki. So now these three new companies that are entering the cozy market for the first time are HoYoverse and MiHoYo, that are known for Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and Zenless Zone Zero. They totalize about 50 million active users monthly. Then we have NetEase, that is very popular for Marvel Rivals, and Identity V, and Tencent, that has very big mobile games like PUBG, and it owns Riot Games that has League of Legends and Valorant. None of the games that I mentioned are cozy, but they are known to have huge teams and huge budget and make tons of revenue. Interestingly, those three games that are supposed to come for Animal Crossing actually have very different styles and are not just copycats. We have Floatopia, that is supposed to be a farming life sim on a set of floating islands. It's gorgeous with amazing texture, and the characters look like those blind box figures. And the twist is that the NPC all have useless superpowers. In Animal Nook, you get miniaturize on your desk and use everyday objects as your environment. And Animal Nook really makes you feel at Animal and Tom Nook, and it's obviously going for the people who love Animal Crossing, right? And Petit Planet is a cosmic life sim where you have your own planet and explore a galaxy full of other small planets. It's very similar in concept to the floating islands of Floatopia. Floatopia from NetEase was announced in summer 2024 at Gamescom. It will be free to play in live service and have multiplayer elements and also terraforming. It should be released everywhere, including mobile. It was announced to be in 2025, but it is rumored now to be delayed. And we almost heard nothing in a year since they announced it. Petit Planet and Animal Nook were both announced at Tokyo Game Show in the fall 2025. Both are very active on social media, at least in the West, as I can see. And they both started to work with content creators and advertise their beta test. So I'm very afraid that Floatopia might now be too late to jump on the bandwagon. All of them will be free to play live service, live sims with farming elements, decorating, and they will be multi-platform and probably even cross-platform. So what can Animal Crossing really offer to top that? It will probably be between 50 and 80 bucks. And most people will have to upgrade their Switch to a Switch 2 to get this game. Or even just to buy a bundle like I did during the pandemic when I bought my Switch for Animal Crossing. So now we're asking people to pay between 500 and 600 USD for the game, the console, and the Nintendo Online subscription to play with your friends. While you could have totally free to play games that offer a lot more. What can you really propose studios to fight for 3 games that will be probably already established when you launch your game, and that will run on a system that people already have and that they can play with friends on any other systems. And like I said before, I'm pretty sure that these 3 only compete between themselves from the market share and don't really care about Animal Crossing, because they just know that this business model of free-to-play actually makes a lot of money. A game like Genshin Impact made twice as much money in the same amount of time than the sales of Animal Crossing. Now that we talk so much about games from China, should we worried that the main games that we play are coming from China? I looked at 2 different studies. The Chinese Game Changer from the Swedish National China Center from August 2024 and the ASBI report Gaming Public Opinion from 2023 and 2024. What we can summarize from this is Chinese companies have heavily invested in or acquired foreign studios. Companies like Tencent and NetEase, that are big companies outside of gaming, have informal and formal ties to the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, and the CCP has named video game a key tool to telling China's story well. These reports warn that Chinese investments could lead to things like sudden narrative shaping in global games to subtly reinforce CCP-friendly worldviews, pressure on foreign studios to avoid China-sensitive topics. Data collected through games and apps can be used to refine influence strategies. The lack of transparency in ownership and data flows makes it hard to assess risks. Now let's talk about the dilution of the player base. In 2020, everybody and their mother played Animal Crossing, or at least have heard of it. People who are not even gamers know about Animal Crossing, as they have heard of Mario and Pokemon and Candy Crush. But ask any non-cozy gamer if they have heard of Disney Dreamlight Valley, Coral Island, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Stardew Valley. I doubt they have, and even the most hardcore cozy gamers have difficulty keeping up with all the new indie games that keep coming up each month. Nothing will be as ubiquitous as Animal Crossing during the pandemic. And let's hope that there will be no more lockdown, but also we have so much more choice now. Will it be the first one out that will win? If the second or third game in this big fish is not extremely better than the other one, it will have real trouble staying. And of course, people who already have the Switch 2 probably will buy it. And Animal Crossing has not even been announced. And so probably these other games will come in 2026, but we could look at 2027 or even 2028 for the next Animal Crossing. By then, a lot of people might be playing daily one of those big games. And of course, the cozy gamers who own a Switch 2 will probably buy Animal Crossing when it comes out, but will it be enough for all the new people who waited for it to buy a new system? Before, games were kind of limited. We bought a game, played until the end or until we were bored, and then moved on to a new game. Nowadays, there are more and more games being published daily because of the ease of publishing through Steam and the Unreal and Unity engines that are a lot easier to use and build your game in now. But also nowadays, it's very popular to have live service games. Instead of making your game, finishing up and start working on another game as a studio, they keep on building and adding new updates to the game all the time. And with updates coming out every month or so, most people only play 1 or 2 games. And why would they go try to look for another game when the game they love keep releasing new things all the time and keep them engaged and actually releasing content for the game faster than they can actually keep up and play? So why would you even go and buy new games when you could have free-to-play games that engage all the time with you and don't even leave time in your day to play other games? Now let's talk about the business model war. So in that case, we have a paid game with buy a new system versus free-to-play and microtransactions. So usually this is like that. Games are either paid or free-to-play. Well, actually, Disney Dreamlight Valley managed to make you pay for the game and then have microtransaction. And apparently people are not even rioting. So apparently you could be that greedy and it works. so why not? Of course, it's also probably because of the FOMO that the cosmetic elements that you can get are very limited in time, and if you miss on it, then you won't see them forever, and so that's why people have to buy it now. But most of the time there's other business models like battle passes or subscription. You pay a few dollars a month, like between 5 or 10, and you get access to extra things, making your gameplay faster. In some cases it could be counted as pay to win, but in a cozy game, what is winning actually? Most of the time in cozy gaming they add gacha element for the cosmetics like decorations and outfit. Now the fine line with those gacha games is how generous the premium currency is giving out to the players that play a lot for free. And are all the banners limited, or will they come back? Take me for example. I have paid the 5 to 7 monthly battle pass in a couple of games for a lot of months in a row, and now I'm paying Apple Arcade to play Hello Kitty Island Adventure. And yes, I also do buy other games, and I'm very reluctant in getting into a new live service game or to buy a huge sandbox game like Animal Crossing, because my time is already divided with other games that are requiring my attention daily. So are games that you pay once better than free-to-play games with microtransactions? At least Hello Kitty Island Adventure managed to make a live service paid game or in the Apple Arcade subscription and has 0 microtransactions. So it's not necessarily that live service means free-to-play. You can also buy your game and have constant updates. They also make paid DLC that are free when people are in Apple Arcade with the subscription. And they also have limited time events, but all of the things that you can get will come back in a year or through different game mechanics. So they're at the total other end of the spectrum as Disney Dreamlight Valley. So now let's quickly talk about Copycats. Really, carbon copy of Animal Crossing is actually being teased, and it's called Anime Village, and this is so exactly like the same characters and design and everything, just with a little less saturation. I don't understand why, but that's okay. So I think that in that case, I have not played it, but it's probably not as good as Animal Crossing. I doubt it ever could be. But I don't even think that Nintendo can sue them on the looks, because apparently the Pokemon Company and Nintendo were not able to sue Pal World on the looks of the Pokemon and Pals, only on the mechanic and on the other aspects like that. So I'm definitely sure it's not even counted as a competitor for Animal Crossing. So here's my final thoughts. The competition for Animal Crossing, if it will come out in 2025 or 2026, is either Western indie cozy games or big conglomerate Chinese free-to-play gacha games. And if it comes later, in 2 years or something, it might be super hard to recoup all these players that are now used to play 1 or 2 big live service games all the time. I think that the pandemic really created a need for people to play cozy games that most people did not really have before and that they stayed with after. And in my opinion, the only way that Animal Crossing can have a fighting chance in this new ecosystem is making Animal Crossing live service. And it also needs to be at least as good or a lot better than the other games. And to be honest, I don't think that Nintendo is capable of making a game that is more gorgeous than Floatopia, because even on Switch 2, the games that we've seen are not that much more pretty. They're so behind in terms of graphics, and Nintendo is also very well known for just keeping the same formula and doing it again and relying on their things that they think is working, even though it's lacking in a lot of things, and they're not very innovative in gameplay and design. And I think that also these other games are going to add a lot more things than just a sandbox game, like puzzles and mini games and storylines. All of that we're not sure yet, but I really do think that now people expect a lot more, and that just staying on, let's take 8 years to make a game that is amazing, but we'll just update it for 2 years, and after that all the events are repeat and then you won't hear from us anymore. That will not work in this current gaming ecosystem. And I really hope that Nintendo has seen this change come and has seen the competition now and is trying to adapt, and even if it takes a lot longer, I'm not sure if it's good for them, but I think they're already too late. And honestly, I'm not sure how Animal Crossing can win nowadays. Honestly, I'm pretty sure we will never see numbers as big as the Animal Crossing New Horizons, because the economy has changed and people are not in lockdown anymore, and people might go for very good and beautiful free-to-play games, whereas having to buy a whole new console. So even though I'm the first person who will definitely jump on the new Animal Crossing, I'm very afraid for it, and I'm really curious to see what Nintendo can bring to take back the player base that will be stolen by the Chinese good amazing games that I will also definitely play. We'll see. Okay, I would love to have your input and have a discussion with you on the comments below. And remember, everybody can play cozy. Bye bye!